Hi friends, Rational Bassist here. This is a guide on how to reach the summit of Timberwolf Mountain. I have already done a guide on the summit. It was my first video on YouTube. The route hasn't changed. This is just a new take on that guide. Call it Summit Redux. But because this is a perm death game and my second rodeo, I have caveats, disclaimers even. For sake of time, I just went ahead and wrote them up. Please read them. Also, please note that while I have a specific path in mind, I'll contemplate alternatives and contingencies. I've organized this into chapters so you can skip something if it isn't relevant to you. I'll also prompt you to that effect. With all of that out of the way, let's go. Our journey begins here at the PV side entrance to Timberwolf Mountain, and we're heading to the Mountaineer's Hut on Crystal Lake. On our way, we're looking for two things. One is the landing gear, because it's a nice landmark, especially helpful on your way to PV out of Timberwolf Mountain. We're also looking for antler rubbings, telltale signs of the moose spawn. Timberwolf Mountain is a one moose region, for now anyway, and if the moose is set to spawn here, we don't have to worry about him up ahead. Sadly, no rubbings here, so we'll have to be on guard later. I always take this path to the lake and the hut, but if you're super confident that there is no moose or want to try something different, approaching the landing gear from PV, you can take a right at the gear, head more or less straight, and you'll end up behind Mountaineer Hut. Personally, I just keep heading this way, more or less straight from the landing gear, and I end up on this little lake trail. Lots of cattails. Help yourself. Do try and stay here in the middle of the creek, not too close to the rock faces on either side. More likely than not, the wolf is going to be up on our left somewhere, out in the open. But I have been surprised by it behind a rock face over on the right-hand side before. Generally speaking, blind corners are a thing to be avoided in this game. And there he is, predictably enough. So we'll check the Mountaineer Hut and shack for supplies, maybe a hacksaw, fuel. This is a new file, so I'll need all of those things for our trip. Maybe some cattails too. There is a bear we want to be mindful of in this area, in addition to these wolves. His cave is further up and we'll be passing it by. When entering the region, I typically find him right by his cave walking out, but it's not always the case if I've been in the region for a little while. In the past, he was all over the place, sometimes as far away from the cave as his fishing hut. That's rare to non-existent these days, but you do well to be on guard for anything. It's common to see a wolf on that left ridge over there. I'm pretty sure he's there now. If we would have flushed the deer to the left instead of the right, I'm pretty sure that wolf would have chased him back into our path. Just one of those things to look out for. I'm going to head up and over this snow ramp. Recall what I said about blind spots? Still true. But here it's a trade-off between a blind spot that rarely has any wolves and a bear that I will hear coming, and climbing up the sides where I could and have encountered wolves in the past. But it is a trade-off. I'm relying on my ears to tell me the story. We're not going to hear anything this time because the bear isn't dangerously close on the other side of this hill. And there he is. So here's what that would have sounded like had we heard the bear on the other side of the ramp before climbing over or further out. I know I said this wasn't a video on gameplay mechanics, but if I'm going to tell you to do something that violates a common sense rule, it's common courtesy to explain why, right? Also, you may have noticed that when I climbed to the top of this little hill, I checked left, then right. Left for the bear, then right to quickly assess our path going forward. It's not perfect, by the way, as you'll see, because your view of an area becomes obsolete the moment you take your eyes off of it. The fact that it was clear a second ago gives you data points to make inferences, but it is not the same as saying that because it was clear a second ago that it is necessarily clear now. So let's continue on. We're back here over the hill near the bear cave, and our next stop will be to a location called the Wing. Worth reiterating that the bear can absolutely be found over at the Wing or end up there. Again, I'm going to step over this blindly. You might want to move further down. That deer is running from something, so we're just going to push him back the other way. And there's the wolf. So I'm not going out of my way to be especially careful here. My goal is to be a little foolish so that you don't in your playthroughs. I've done this a lot, and there's a real possibility of making something seem easier than it is when it's just practice and good luck. Welcome to the wing, so named because of that giant detached wing right there. There are also some cargo containers and crates. The cargo containers can have coffee, soda, food, generally helpful items. A moose can spawn in this area too, not this time apparently. And as mentioned, the bear has a habit of pathing back this way, and then there's the wolf. So I wouldn't suggest any time-lapse activities like breaking down the crates or something. And even if you go for the cargo containers, do be mindful of all the wildlife. We're going to head this way. Facing the cargo containers, you'd make a left and head straight. There weren't antler rubbings back at the landing gear, none at the wing. That means the moose spawn is going to be up ahead. There's a log bridge that we're going to need to cross. We call that log bridge Laura's Bridge, by the way. Just because the moose is set to spawn there doesn't mean it will have spawn. I have and haven't encountered moose spawns at day 1. I'm listening carefully for hooves and moose calls. No, nothing here. But if you're trying to make this trek and encounter a moose up ahead and aren't comfortable taking him on, don't worry. I'm going to show you an alternate route. On past Laura's Bridge. Past the bridge, it's pretty much a straight shot to our next step, which is a rope. There's a cave on the way, and we're going to stop there and rest, after I demonstrate that moose-free alternative. It really is just a straight run this way, that's why I'm speeding this up, but I promise to be judicious about doing that. Meanwhile, if you manage to cross a log bridge without incident, and are eager to continue onward to the summit, feel free to skip to Chapter 6, where in the morning we'll head off to the first rope. For everyone else, we're heading to a location called Echo Ravine. We're going to skip a bit further up, closer to the wing. But not all the way back, and here is why. Because while you've been running to the wing, gathering items, heading up to the log bridge, wildlife has been moving around. Case in point, there's Mr. Bear. Not only is he a major concern, taking the widest open space back towards his cave, but he's also displacing all the wolves who usually inhabit that area. I'm going to work this corner a little bit on our way back, try to get some good visuals, but you'd be well advised to consider a torch or something like that. Just keep in mind what I said about blind corners earlier, because once you reach a certain distance to the wolf, they can stop caring about that torch and just flat out charge you. So we came from the left. The bear's cave is also over there. And we're going to head right. We're going to head all the way down this path. At the end here, there's a split. Heading right will take you to one of the exits to Ash Canyon. We're going to head left. Echo Ravine isn't a place to take lightly, which is why I'm not speeding this up. While I'd urge against bringing any scent-bearing items, that's fish, meat, uncured gut, at any point during this trip, definitely don't do it here. Because you're basically trading a moose spawn for a probable wolf or two. Likely 2 here on Stalker. The ravine is a narrow, linear path with a few dead-end offshoots and shifts in elevation where wolves can definitely catch you off guard. Short of the open chasm area at the end, use any little ramps you can to see ahead. Definitely don't do that once you get out in the open chasm because that's where the wolves tend to be if you haven't lured them in via scent. And to that point, the wolves are usually at the end, but I suggest being on your guard and leaving nothing to chance. Whoa, they always surprise me. Also, there's a second wolf not detecting us for whatever reason. There's a rope here if you need a grass, couple of shelves on your way up the climb if you need to rest. But fair warning, it's a bit of a schlep. There's an indoor-style cave up ahead, and I'm going to hop in and try to lose this wolf so we can take our time going forward. Looks like I'm freezing right inside the cave. We'd warm up if I moved further in, but that's fine. We'll just pass a few minutes and head out. I can hear him pathing, so let's just head on. I'll use an old school method to try and lose the wolf. There we go. So onward to this huge, I don't know, open air cave? I don't know what you call it. On any mode except Interloper, you can call it a reliable place to find a bedroll. Interloper players, not so much. But if you need a guide on doing a Day 1 Interloper summit, I have you covered. Check the video description for a link. Once you're done looting, from our entry point, you'll swing a right through this exit. We're going to head to the same cave that you couldn't access across the log bridge because of the moose. Oh, and if you took the rope, it's pretty much a straight shot ahead to our destination. But here's a little picture-in-picture up to the large open cave that we're now leaving so that you can follow along. And here we are. It's getting late, so I'll tuck in for the night and we'll pick it up in the morning. Good morning. The next leg of our journey requires us to take a right out of the cave and head on a straight path to a rope. If you were heading here from the log bridge, you'd just keep going straight. I don't recommend it though. I'm going to be demonstrating a couple of routes to the summit. There are 3 more ropes ahead. 2 can be done in one go without stems, coffee, or energy drinks, but you'll need to be fully rested and avoid sprinting. However, if the need arises, there are safe places to sleep up past the next rope. Once we're up the rope and slightly ahead, we have a split path. I'm going to demonstrate a conventional route to the summit and an unconventional route. The unconventional route is faster and looks cooler, but is slightly more advanced. It comes with wolf encounters and likely sprains. The conventional route is conventional because it requires less fancy footwork, but it comes with a possible bear encounter. Regardless of which route you're taking, either side of this split will get you there. We're going to take the right side. For the conventional route, it's safer and bypasses unnecessary risk. For the unconventional, I would argue that it lessens risk on non-pilgrim files. We're stepping over to the left so that I can show you what I mean. There are wolves that path over here, and they can be anywhere we're walking right now. Sometimes behind something you can't see, sometimes not. We got through okay this time, but I don't take that for granted. Also, our entry to the non-conventional path is this ramp up ahead. And it is a huge ramp. In either direction you're coming from, you'll want to clear it before just blindly walking up. But compare that to the right side. First and foremost, there aren't going to be wolves on this side ready to jump you. You run this way past the Ash Canyon Cave over to Deer Clearing. Note the cargo container ahead if you want to loot that. Swing a left and there's your ramp. Again, blind on the other side, so you want to clear the opposite side regardless of which way you're coming from. And you're probably going to be dealing with wolves regardless of which way you come from. The difference is, with the right path, you have an exponentially higher chance of getting to dictate just how that encounter will take place and where. That can be huge. Alas, at the end of the day, it's your call. However you arrived here, if you're ready to take the non-conventional path on our way to the summit, skip to Chapter 8 and we'll get going. In sequence, let's first visit the conventional path. Taking the right side up here to Deer Clearing, we skip those wolves. You may not be able to if you go for the cargo container. I've only looted it once. I think on my Interloper playthrough it had a few hides and maybe a ruined pair of sneakers. It's been a while. But instead of messing with that, we're just going to head this way, ahead and right of Deer Clearing. The landmark we're pursuing is this overturned tree, because it tells us we need to look for a narrow path to our left. Be cautious though. I mentioned a bear encounter. He can be anywhere. First time I encountered him was on the other side of this narrow path. I've also seen him on both sides of the gap, far past the overturned tree, and honestly, he can be anywhere from here to a location called Eric's Falls well down the map. So if you want to take this path, you will need to exercise caution and listen for those bear noises like we covered earlier. This is the rope up to the secluded shelf. If you're ready to head up, skip to the 9th and final chapter and we'll wrap this up. Hope you're ready for some unconventional route, because that is what is on the menu. I'm starting out here at the left path. This is the path that I take. I do encourage the right path if this is your first time, but I'm confident in my ability to hear the wolves and avoid being pounced. So we'll make our way over to the ramp. Let me note that I didn't come up with this, but the person who taught me asked not to be credited a long time ago, so I'll just leave it at this isn't my trick. I hear a wolf on the left. There's probably two. So that's one. And the other wolf is on the other side of this ramp eating. That'll become louder as we approach. There is a risk associated with relying on a wolf being distracted by eating, and the risk is that it could stop eating while we're crossing its path. It's a risk I'm comfortable taking, but it is a risk. So we need to walk up this snowy ramp as high as we possibly can. Up to this gray rock face. Then we need to hang a right and move across, staying as high up as we can. Crouch if you like. The trick here is, while walking this way, to push A on your keyboard or the relevant directional button on your controller to keep trying to climb up while moving forward. But if you feel it not moving you higher and you're just pushing against the rock, you can stop because you'll probably just get a sprain. When you get out to this snowy white part, start trying to move up. If you've stayed up high enough, you'll be able to walk all the way up. Then we hop over, take a little left. There's my sprain every damn time. And there's the rope. So we're ready to climb the rope up to a location called the Secluded Shelf. After this, folks, it's just a casual stroll through a cave, a nap, and an easy climb up to the summit. Oh, one of the criticisms I received last time is that I didn't show you all my map. Despite explaining that it wouldn't actually help anything, so if you'll indulge me, here you go. Map and map. Done. On we go into the cave. Feel free to sprint in here if you like. If lantern fuel is low or something, you'll be needing a nap before leaving the cave anyway. This cave has a little trick in the form of a crawl space, so we're heading to that. Afterwards, it's pretty much an easy jaunt out. You saw me pick up some coal, might be worth gathering. There will be stuff to break down at the summit for a fire, but I always find a little coal to be quite helpful at the start. Let's get a little nap and skip forward a bit and we'll head out. And out we go. So again, feel free to crouch here, but I'm just going to hop down. The path to the summit is to the right, but I do want to show you this climbing rock to the left. There's a rope attached to it. I'm not sure if that's always true, but it turns out there's another path up and down the summit. There's a rock across from Mountaineer Hut and another one on the other side of that Echo Ravine cave we visited as the moose-free alternative. Problem is that at least one of those rocks isn't going to have a rope. There used to be some RNG attached to which one, but it's most often the one at the Echo Ravine Cave / Andre's Peak. So that other path is useless until you go deploying ropes. You're going to find some here. It's just a question of whether you want to bother with it at all. Personally, I just take this route and then I billy goat down. That's another rite of passage, by the way, billy goating down the summit. I'll provide a link to a video I did demonstrating how to goat the summit. But it is a demonstration, not a guide. Maybe that'll be enough for you, but use at your own risk, friends. Also worth advising that I am not at full rest. I suggest full rest and taking breaks on the cliffs up the rope. Don't do anything to get yourself killed. Once you've made it up this rope, you've made it to the summit. Please allow me to be the first person to congratulate you on achieving a rite of passage within the long dark. Congratulations. The crash jetliner is a straight shot from the rope. Can't miss it. But I don't want to spoil it for you. By the by, here's that cave I mentioned. Might come in handy. Also, there's another rope if you need it. But that's it, folks. This has been How to Reach the Summit of Timberwolf Mountain Redux. Hope it was useful. I'll see you all around the bend. Cheers.